Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be looking at this position. It is white to move and win. But there's a slight problem. The problem is this pawn on a2 is ready to promote on the next move, so we have to do something about it. Giving some reckless checks on bishop to g5, bishop to c5 will not lead to anything because he can just take this pawn and promote on the next move because we have no more checks. So we have to stop the pawn from promoting on a1, and you might find it really easy to see because it is bishop to f6. Yes, so far so good. But after bishop to f6, there will be this move d4, protected by the king. This pawn is hanging, and black will make a queen on the next move. Can we actually stop the pawn from promoting? Now you might say, well, there is actually a way, which is to try to add more attackers to this pawn. So whenever he makes a queen, we take with check, and then we take the queen, or the queen will be forced to take. And the only way to do that, because after takes here we can just take, right? That's losing for us. We have to play knight to f3, you might say. After knight to f3, he promotes to a queen. We go bishop takes. Now this is a check. He needs to take, or otherwise he will be losing the queen and the game. So after queen takes, knight takes, king takes, who is winning this position? If you said, well, white is winning this position because black has to take this pawn while the white king has to push up and take this pawn, push away, and make a queen. Well, you're wrong. In this position, it is a draw. Because after king to g4, takes, king moves up, king to e4, king h6, and there is this king to f5, and after king takes h7, there is this really good move, which is king to f6. King to f6, the king can now move back here or here because black will play king to g5, and after that the pawn will be lost. You might say, okay, he's not going to play that, he's going to push the pawn. Well, then we can play king to f7, and you can see that we are shouldering the king. And yes, he has a pawn, but the pawn can never promote because the king will be forced, to go up and down. So here, we go here, he goes back, or if he pushed that still, a draw. If he went here, we go back because we don't want to allow him to go here, and that's pretty much draw. So black will be drawing this position after bishop to f6 and the move d4. So how can we win this for white? Because remember, we don't want to draw. There is a way to win this position, and it's not by playing knight to f3 because, as you see, it's going to lead to a draw, eventual draw at the end. The best move in this position, which is completely insane, I want you to pause the video for a while to try to find it. It is really creative and has great, sets of moves that's going to happen afterwards. So you just have to find the only move, starting move, because the second move is really, really difficult to see. Okay, hopefully you pause the video for a while. The move is knight, not to f3, because knight to f3 will lead to a draw. It is knight to e2. You might say, what is the difference? Like first of all, let's just see what happens if black decided to take the knight. Then we have a simple bishop takes d4. He takes this pawn. We move the bishop all the way back to a1. He's going to try to attack us. We push the king up. He tries to go here, and then we can move the bishop away. He can never make a queen because we can take, and after he takes, his king is really far away, and he cannot really do much. I mean, the king is going to try to get closer, but this is a red carpet for the pawn, and we're going to make a queen and win this position. So after knight to e2, he cannot take because whenever he loses this pawn, all we have to do is to keep the bishop on this diagonal, to sacrifice itself when the pawn is ready to promote, and use our king to attack this pawn and push. So he cannot take the knight. You might say, okay, there's king takes pawn, for example. King takes pawn is the exact same thing. Bishop takes d4. We don't care about the knight. We want him to take a piece in order to get the king active, take the pawn, move away, make a queen, and sacrifice the bishop once the pawn will be ready to promote. So that's the position. He cannot either take the knight or the pawn. So after knight to e2, you might say, well, duh, Why would black even take the knight or take a pawn? He can make a queen. Well, now what would you play with white? Are you going to play bishop takes a d4, which is the exact same move that you played earlier, that we discussed earlier, that leads to a draw, because after queen takes, knight takes, king moves here, the exact same position will be leading to a draw. So we cannot even do that. So you might say, what? We are allowing black the opportunity to make a queen on the next move? Yes. We are allowing black, to have a queen. Now, what would you play in this position? If you found this move, you're really good at tactics. You're really good at seeing things that are not easily seen on the board. The move is, in this position, it is knight c1. Oh my god. When I saw this move, I was bamboozled. This move is insane. Now, let's see what this move does. Knight to c1 protects the pawn on d3. Now, as you can see, the king here is blocking the black king, and the knight is taking control of this square. The pawn is taking control of this square, and the knight is defending the pawn. So the only square for the black king, it is actually d2. So now you can see that the next move will be bishop to g5, checkmate. We sacrifice the knight twice in order to get checkmate. We are waving a mating net around the black king. In case he moved the queen, he will be losing the game by bishop to g5. Now let's first discuss what happens when he just takes the knight. Taking the knight will not help him because of the move bishop to g5 check. He takes the pawn, or he moves away, it doesn't matter. We can just take his queen. He attacks us, and then we can just move the bishop away. He's going to try to promote, but then we can push, and after he goes there, we can sacrifice, and that is very far away from him to actually do much against us, because now we have this, and this is winning, of course. So after queen here, knight to c1, he cannot take because we can give it check, win the queen, move the bishop back, and sacrifice the bishop for the pawn in order to get the win. You might say, okay, then he can just play a really simple move, h6. No more check on bishop to g5, and black then might be capable of, moving the queen, do something. Well, we can just play bishop to e5. Bishop to e5, it's okay if black removed this bishop to g5 check. Now we can play bishop f4 check, mate. So he cannot really do much. You might say, okay, well, instead of this move, h6, black can play queen to a5, stopping the bishop from giving the check, stopping the bishop from ever entering here to get this check, and trying to get some checks of his own in order to annoy us and then win the game in some way. Now, I wanted to pause the video to try to find the best move for white in this position. Now, before actually seeing this, you might say, well, he can just move the king. If he move the king, knight to b3 check, he takes the pawn, and this is losing because whenever the king moves, we're gonna just take here, and this is winning for us 100%. That's why he cannot move the king here, because it's gonna lead to a fork. Hopefully you saw that. Now, after queen to a5, because we looked after h6, we can just play bishop here to get the checkmate. So queen to a5, throwing some checks all over the place and stopping the bishop from ever giving the check. Now I want you to pause to see or to spot the best move for white in this position. Okay, hopefully you managed to find it. It's a really beautiful tactic. It is the exact same tactic as this sacrifice, check on b3 with the knight. We just have to sacrifice the bishop on d4. Now black, as you can see, only has two options, either to take the bishop or to move away to d2. In both cases, it's going to be entering a fork by the knight. So if he takes, that's a check. He moves there, we just take, and the knight is going to be helping us not to be stalemated. So whenever we want to try to get to the pawn, move the king, and push the pawn, he's going to try to get his king as close as possible to the pawn, but then we can use our knight to give some checks, kick the king away, promote to the pawn, and make a queen. So that's it. I really hope that you enjoyed this video and you learned something valuable from it, and I'll see you again with another video.